Joining us now, Chris Kelly, former Chief Privacy Officer and General Counsel at Facebook. It's good to have you back on the show, Chris. You know, my reaction to watching the 60 Minutes piece and hearing her talk was that, oh, this is terrible, but it's hard to figure out what ultimately comes next for Facebook from a regulatory and a legal perspective. What do you think it is?
I think the company should see this as a huge opportunity to try to reset a lot of the thinking of the way that the company approaches this and to make sure that it gets it right. And I think that you've seen in the limited statements that they've put out so far an intention to do that. But that has to be followed up with a lot of action. And I think that there's huge potential in that. The question that looms over the hearing tomorrow and the provision of documents to the SEC and a number of different things is what's it going to actually show? Some of the discussion about the Wall Street Journal piece, in particular the headlines, weren't completely backed up by the documents that were actually released. And the research that was done internally at the company was shown to be a bit more inconclusive than has been presented in the public discourse. But instead of spending its time dwelling on that, which I think you've seen in some of the statements from the company so far, they should see it as an opportunity to say, no, we're actually going to try to get this right. And we're going to try to empower those in the company who are trying to make sure that our research shows that their research shows how to move this path forward. The accusation from the whistleblower and from a number of others that have been sort of time immemorial attacking Facebook is that they put profits over the right thing to do. And I didn't see that when I was there. We made quite a number of moves to enhance safety that we knew would limit our growth at a time that growth was truly critical for the company when we were expanding into high schools and other actions like that. But that was 10, 12 years ago was the last time I was at the company. But I've worked with the company from time to time since then. And I think that there is an empowerment of those within the company who have been doing this research that I hope the company embraces at this point.
But part of the problem, Chris, is the trust factor around the idea that it looks like they hid it, that they had all this information that things were bad for, that what they were doing was making divisiveness worse and making eating disorders worse for teens, and they were hiding it. It wasn't what we were hearing from the public statements from Mark Zuckerberg, who goes on Capitol Hill to defend the company. And that gap in terms of what they know and what we know, it makes it harder to believe that they're trying to do anything about this nobly to fix it.
I can see how a lot of people have seen it that way. But if the company were truly trying to avoid those issues, it wouldn't be doing this research internally. So the fact that it exists out there and that it's potentially could be misinterpreted, or you could offer a particularly harsh interpretation of it, means that the company, some within the company, are serious about addressing that. And now what the company needs to do is empower those who are serious about addressing it and who can talk publicly about how they aim to make it better. The question of maximization of short-term profits versus a long-term healthy ecosystem is something that Mark understands very, very well. And I think that this should be seen as an opportunity to try to get that right.
Do you think, Chris, this is the biggest challenge they faced of the many over the last couple of years? I mean, they even put their response out to the recent accusation of antitrust complaints from the FTC today. It sort of slipped under the radar a bit. But is this the biggest challenge that could really either lead to change in a positive sense or damage them relative to the others?
This is truly significant in a way that the antitrust case, because the market definition was so poorly pursued by the FTC, it wasn't as much of a challenge as I think this is for the company. But again, I strongly encourage those at the company to see this as an opportunity to try to get these things right, that the company shouldn't be neutral about disinformation. It shouldn't be neutral about, insurrections against the American government. It shouldn't be neutral about, just attacks on, it shouldn't be about horse dewormer being a healthy substitute for active COVID vaccination. And the company had taken extraordinarily aggressive means about promoting COVID information, proper COVID information, marketed interviews with Anthony Fauci early on. And I think they'd done a very, very good job of addressing that for a time. And it's pretty questionable whether they're continuing that right now.